We're expecting a news conference from the mayor to begin momentarily, but let's go to Mayor Tom Barrett, who is now speaking.
Today's decision reminds us that we all have a lot of work to do in the weeks, months, and years ahead to heal and find common ground on community police relations. This decision today was one of a series of decisions that have been made and will be made in connection with this case. On October 15th, Milwaukee Police Chief Edward Flynn terminated the employment of Officer Manny. He no longer works for the Milwaukee Police Department. I spoke to U.S. Attorney James Santel this morning, and I anticipate he will be making some type of announcement later today pertaining to the federal government. Over the past several months, I have met and talked with members of the faith community, as well as community organizations and the Milwaukee Police Department. I spoke with several of those individuals this morning. If there is one thing we all agree on, is we agree that there is a need for more mental health crisis intervention training for police officers, and that there has to be more resources for individuals in this community who suffer from mental health challenges. The city, under my leadership, has already taken significant steps to address some of the most urgent needs. Just last week, I announced that all Milwaukee police officers will receive crisis intervention training. All Milwaukee police officers. In addition to that, we have begun a program where officers will be equipped with body cameras. We think that that is an important step as well. We agree that there is need for more action. But I also have to put this into perspective. There have been many, many protests in this city. Almost all of these protests have been peaceful protests. Our Milwaukee Police Department has done everything it can to allow these demonstrations to remain peaceful and to make minimal arrests. Obviously, there were more arrests that were made on Friday night. But it has been the position of the Milwaukee Police Department that the protesters can exercise their First Amendment rights. It is my hope that these protests, if they continue, and I anticipate that they will continue, remain peaceful. I know that the vast majority of individuals who work for the Milwaukee Police Department are hard-working public servants who are doing this job because they want to protect the public. The vast majority. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are exceptions. And it is important for us to weed out those individuals who do not have what is necessary to be a Milwaukee police officer. I also know that there was a tragedy that occurred in New York City this weekend, where 2 New York City officers were assassinated while sitting in their vehicle. We cannot allow all police officers in this nation, all police officers in this city, to be demonized. This is the time for peace. The demonstrations are a part of our democracy, but the police officers are there to protect our safety and to preserve peace. So just as I believe the vast majority of Milwaukee police officers are good people who are trying to do what's best for society, I believe the vast majority of people who are protesting are doing what they perceive to be best for our society. What is needed in Milwaukee, and it was needed in this nation, is more of an understanding of the communities that the police officers serve in and the job that the police officers perform. As I have said many, many times, I need to have a community where the citizens and residents can work with and trust the police officers. I also need to have a community where the police officers can work with and trust the citizens. It is a two-way street. It's always going to take work. I am committed to having as much training as necessary so that our police officers understand their important role, and again, I believe the vast majority of them do. But this is work that we will continue as long as necessary. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, the Hamilton family and their supporters have said that without charges, they didn't believe justice would be served. Do you agree with that?
I'm going to do what I can in my job. And what I can do is I can try to make sure that the Milwaukee Police Department and the men and women who work for the Milwaukee Police Department receive the training that is necessary, that I believe is necessary, and that I believe the Hamilton family believes is necessary, so that they can be better equipped to deal in these crisis intervention training moments. That is a commitment that I made. That is a commitment that I am going to stick to and make sure that all of our officers are trained. I also think it's necessary in terms of transparency that police officers are equipped with body cameras. It is something that we have started here and is something we've continued. I have also said that I am committed to more diversity on the police department and the fire department. That is something that we have done and we are going to continue to do. So again, I totally understand the frustration and the anger that they would feel. I would feel the same way. What I'm trying to do is to work as much as I can to improve the real world conditions that exist in this city, particularly as they relate to police-community relations.
Do you agree with the decision not to charge Officer Manny in this case?
I think the district attorney took his role very seriously. I think he did what he thought was right. But again, my emphasis here is that this is one chapter in a book. The first chapter was a decision made on October 15th to terminate his employment. That was done under the guidelines that the police chief felt was appropriate. The second decision is this decision made by the district attorney under the guidelines he thinks are appropriate. The third decision, of course, is the U.S. attorney. So I'm not going to come in and say, let's dissect this because it's one chapter in the book. Let's see where we go if the U.S. attorney decides that there should be a federal review of this as well.
Given how the protest turned out on Friday, do you anticipate that or more today?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think that remains to be seen, and we'll know that within hours.
What has the city done to prepare just in case?
Oh, the city is well prepared. Again, I think that the Milwaukee Police Department has done a very good job up to this point, and I hope it continues, to respect individuals' First Amendment rights. But we also have to keep in mind that the police department has to ensure that other people in our society can exercise their freedom to travel and to do it safely as well. So you have a situation here where the police have to make determinations as it relates to public safety, as it relates to access for emergency vehicles, as it relates to blocking off interstates. That clearly was an area where there were the most problems once it started interfering with the freeway access.
Mr. Mayor, do you think that there's a role for the National Guard to play today? Or in
the city of Milwaukee has not requested the presence of the National Guard because we believe that up to this point that our police department has been able to maintain order, to preserve peace, and to make sure that this city is operating efficiently. The request that was made by the sheriff, as I understand it, pertains to county grounds. That's a decision that he will have to make, and that was a decision that he made. But the Milwaukee Police Department did not feel at this time that was necessary.
We'll take one more question.
Mr. Mayor, you've been intimating that there may be a federal probe of this case.
I don't know.
Do you think there should be a federal probe of the entire department? Would you be open to that?
Again, I have had conversations with people from Washington, D.C. about the Milwaukee Police Department. And if they feel that there are grave injustices, then of course they should do that. I think that this police department is trying to do what it can to make sure that it is in compliance. I don't think it's a situation like you have in some other communities where the probes have begun. But again, I will certainly work with the Justice Department or anyone in Washington, D.C. to make sure that their concerns are addressed here. I want those concerns addressed. I need to have a community where police and citizens can work with and trust each other.
Okay,
That's
thank
what I
you.
need to
Thank
have.
you, everybody.
Real quickly, you mentioned off the top the tensions and concerns felt by the citizens and police, which have been at odds often throughout this case. Do you feel you have walked that line, that you've done a good job of both addressing the concerns of the family and their supporters, while also showing your support for the Milwaukee Police?
I feel that part of my role is to maintain peace as much as I can in this community and to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. Again, I have a lot of respect for the men and women who work for the Milwaukee Police Department, but if they do something wrong, they should be held accountable. At the same time, I think it's very, very important that the protesters understand the role that the police play. And I support people exercising their First Amendment rights. Again, it has to be done in a way, though, that does not interfere with other individuals' rights. And I think that's the tension that is part of a democracy, and we live in a democracy.
Thank you
very much.
Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett wrapping up a news conference responding to the DA's decision not to file charges, answering